in reading your book, it seems that you're particularly interested in dreams that occur during life crises and stress. Why is that?
Well, again, because a dream that occurs during a particular life crisis or a stressful period can provide the dreamer with an insight into what the issue really is that they're threatened by. For example, a lady came in to see me who um, was awakened by a nightmare, and the nightmare was that she was walking in the jungle and a tiger leapt out at her and was about to attack her, and she woke up screaming, terrified. She had generalized anxiety, and she really didn't know why she was anxious. She couldn't really pinpoint anything in her life or anything that had happened that was giving her anxiety. Well, we began to work with the dream, and it turned out that she was on her second marriage, and her first husband had died of a chronic illness. It was a very long, painful death. And she was remarried to her second husband. He was now the same age as her first husband was when he became ill. What she was terrified of was that her present husband would become ill and die as her first husband had. And this was what was giving her anxiety, but she wasn't consciously aware of that.
You also make a point about anniversary dreams. Can you first explain what is an anniversary dream and then why is it important?
Sure. An anniversary dream is a dream that occurs at the same time of year, sometimes to the exact date of an important event in the person's life. It might be the death of a loved one. It might be an anniversary of a divorce. It might be the anniversary of a happy event, of a marriage, or meeting a loved one, or achieving some significant milestone in one's life. So that's why we call them anniversary dreams. They can be very useful because not only do they recall in the dream, they recall the actual event itself, but the reason we recall the event may have some significant meaning. For example, a woman had a dream that in the dream, she saw her grandparents at her grandparents' home, where she had spent many happy times during her childhood. And they were alive and they were there, and she had a very pleasant experience, very pleasant interchange with them. Well, it turned out that she had this dream that was on the anniversary of her grandfather's death. Okay, that was significant. The other significant thing is that she was going through a period in her life at the time she had the dream where she was feeling rather lonely and rejected, and she had just had an unfortunate experience with a friend who had rebuffed her, and so she had the dream about her grandparents, not only because it was the anniversary of her grandfather's death, but also it recalled the pleasurable feeling she had when she was with her grandparents as a child, of feeling loved and accepted. So that was the dynamic reason for having that anniversary dream at that point.
Do you think that by focusing on the dream itself and making it an important part of the therapy, that itself will influence the type and the kind of dreams that the individual might present to you, the therapist, and maybe be somewhat artificial, introduce something artificial into the therapy?
Can you give me an example of what you're really trying to get at here?
Well, the patient knows that you're interested in dreams, and they may want to please you, and they may be generating dreams, not necessarily malingering, but just working to please you by generating dreams.
Yes, well, that can happen, yes. Of course, patients often want to please us in different ways, and if they find something that we're interested in, whether it's dreams or some kind of a particular subject, if they think we like art or we're interested in politics, of course they may bring up that topic and try to please us with by talking about it with us. But if I feel a patient is overloading me with dreams or bringing in too many dreams, and I feel that it's either trying to please me or even maybe an obstacle, maybe a resistance to the treatment because it's taking up a lot of our time, then I'll point that out.
The last question I want to ask you is that you mentioned that the dream itself facilitates change. Can you explain that and give an example how that might work?
Sure. And again, this is somewhat controversial, but we believe now that dreams have multiple functions, and as I mentioned before, one of the functions is problem solving. Another one that I mentioned is trying to work through and resolve our feelings. Another function is memory processing, taking the day's events and storing them in a meaningful way. And so these functions are very important for our mental stability. As a matter of fact, if in the dream laboratory you deprive a person of their REM sleep and keep waking them up over a period of 48 to 72 hours, you'll actually have a person, a dreamer, who becomes very agitated, very anxious, and sometimes mentally disorganized. We know from those experiments that dreams are necessary for our normal psychic functioning. So indeed, we dreaming is necessary, and we know that, as I mentioned before, we solve certain problems or work with certain problems and issues and make certain decisions in our dreams that, of course, we're not aware of if we don't remember the dream, but they influence our waking activity, our conscious activity. And often we will then go ahead and make a decision or take an action that we haven't been consciously aware of, but has been worked through in our dreams. So in that way, dreams can facilitate change as well as maintain healthy mental functioning.
Our time is up now. I want to thank you, Dr. Myron Glucksman, author of a new book titled Dreaming, An Opportunity for Change, published by Jason Aronson, and it's available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and other booksellers. Your comments are welcome on the Shrinkpod site, or feel free to email me at shrinkpod@AOL. I'm Dr. Michael Blumenfield, wishing you a pleasant day.
You have been listening to Shrinkpod, which has been coming to you from the campus of New York Medical College at the Behavioral Health Center of Westchester Medical Center in Valhalla, New York. This program is supported by a grant from the Sidney E. Frank Foundation. I'm Dr. Michael Blumenfield, wishing you a pleasant good day.